The desert stretched out endlessly before him, an unforgiving expanse of sand and scrub, as Michael drove along the remote highway. The sun was high in the clear blue expanse of sky, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. The road was desolate. He hadn't seen another car in hours, nor a gas station, a restaurant, or any sign of life. The monotony of the drive had lulled him into a trance-like state, his mind wandering as he moved along the lonely stretch of road. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement. Michael squinted, focusing on the shape racing through the desert parallel to the road. A man on horseback, galloping at full speed, kicking up dust as he went. The rider was dressed like a cowboy from an old western, a wide-brimmed hat, a bandana around his neck, leather chaps. Michael's heart skipped a beat. It was like a scene straight out of a history book. The cowboy looked over at him, meeting his gaze, and then tipped his hat in a gesture of polite acknowledgement. The action jolted Michael out of his trance, and he realized with a shock that he had veered into the eastbound lane. He swerved back, his tires screeching as they gripped the hot asphalt. His pulse raced as he steadied the car, his eyes darting back towards where the rider had been. But there was nothing. No cowboy, no horse, not even the cloud of dust that should have been left in their wake. The desert was empty, silent but for the hum of his car's engine. Michael's hands tightened on the steering wheel as panic crept into his gut. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. When he finally spotted a gas station, its sign like an oasis, he pulled in with a sigh of relief, his tank nearly empty. Inside, an old man stood behind the counter, his face weathered like the landscape outside. Michael grabbed a bottle of water and approached the counter. "Ever see anything strange out on that stretch of highway?" Michael asked, trying to keep his voice casual. The old man's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked up. "Depends on what you mean by strange," he replied, his voice rough with age. I think I saw a cowboy," Michael said, feeling foolish as the words left his mouth. "Riding through the desert right alongside the road, but when I looked back he was gone, just vanished." The old man's expression didn't change, but something dark flickered in his eyes. "You must have driven by what's left of the old cattle town," he said slowly. "Burned down in a big blaze back in the early 1800s. Folks around here still talk about it. They say sometimes, when the conditions are right, you might see things. Cowboys, cattle drivers, even wagons. They appear out of nowhere, then disappear just as quick. Lots of accidents happen on that stretch." Michael felt a chill run down his spine. "What happens if you see them at night?" The old man's gaze was piercing now. "Don't go back through there after dark, son. They say the fire that took that town, it still burns in the night. You get caught up in it, you might not come out." As Michael left the gas station, the old man's words echoed in his mind. As he drove away, the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, casting the desert into a deep, foreboding darkness. And though he kept his eyes on the road, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from the shadows, waiting for him to make a wrong turn and fall into the past, where the flames still raged and the ghosts of the Old West rode on.